Of the Standard Group Center along Mombasa Road.
Deterrence. It's like City was saying, it's a systemic issue. We have had the IGs of police who have disobeyed court orders. We have seen government officials disobeying court orders. We have seen so many of these cases going on. And those that they respond to, that they answer to, the immediate supervisors, the Police Service Commission, the PS and CS and the President, like you've said, never taken action against any of the other officers previously. When Kinoti was sentenced to serve 4 months in prison, not even the president spoke or said anything about it. Here we have an Inspector General of Police who has not appeared in court 7 times in an administration where the words that are said by the head of the administration, the president, are that we are an administration that obeys law and order. But a senior member of the institution that is supposed to enforce law and order is disobeying law and order. It doesn't happen. How do we deal with the system? Even if you use Masengeli as a case study.
Latif, the system is broken. And from the example that we used, we just need a few of us to effectuate the repair of the system. You know, when we speak here, people think that we speak in a case of isolation. A senior police officer has just reminded me right now that we have a designated Inspector General of National Police Service who is 60 years old, yet the retirement age of a public servant and a police officer for that matter, 60 years old. And this Kanja was appointed by the president with advice of the National Police Service. And I don't think these people are gullible. As Elder said, they are well-learned. Everybody in the list that I've enumerated. And then Parliament has approved the appointment of Kanja. It is what is called turning logic over its head. And however much we may not want to perceive this issue in the manner in which we are depicting it here, the 4 of us, that is the reality of the matter.
Yep.
The problem rests with 3 individuals. 1, we the people. Because I know we the people will hold a homecoming for Kanja after he takes oath of office as Inspector General of National Police, knowing very well that is unqualified for appointment. 2, the executive, and the president for that matter. And the president is a very learned person, is my good friend. How does he make such a catastrophic mistake? And then 3rd, the parliament, we, the people represented, approve this. Yet it is the mandate of we, the people represented in Parliament, to oversight the executive. There is something wrong. Solution? We must start afresh. And starting afresh entails recreating the representation, that is Parliament, so that we have a Parliament that is competent, capable, and able to do that we, the people, have given it to do in a representative capacity. Because there's been failure. And I'll be very deliberate and honest. There is no chief executive of any country, however democratic that country is, will want to obey the law. All presidents worldwide do not obey the law. Richard Nixon, a distinguished lawyer himself, when asked by his Attorney General, Mr. President, what shall we do about Watergate? Said, but Bob, I thought the president was above the law. They always think they're above the law. And you see, this is how they're oriented. But it's incumbent upon Parliament and the judiciary to do its work. And fundamentally, the people. Insofar as the obedience of court orders is concerned, upholding the Constitution, the judiciary has done a fundamental job. It has executed its mandate to fruition. What is outstanding rests with two corners. One is Parliament, and two, the people.
I think the question,
the four of us.
Yeah, I think the question of the how then comes into play here, because I think that's really then what. Before there's a lot of thought later that you say, okay, yes, we see that there's something wrong here, and we see that it is clearly not to the satisfaction of the people. But then you want to ask yourself, how do we go about it? And that people without options in terms of the know-how then become sometimes a restless bunch. Because you know that you're dissatisfied with the status quo. You know that something needs to be done about it. But they're not sure. Do we coalesce and say, okay, let's do, what do you do? Do you march to Vigilance House? What do you do? Do you put a petition through to the courts? The how usually comes out and people say, okay, so what do we do? That action that would essentially set precedent for the future, taking that first step is a difficult one, because you're not quite sure what it is that ought to happen.
No. We learn best from animals. So the example I gave you.
Mm-hmm.
The zebras outmaneuvered lion in a precedent-setting encounter. But again, the lion will still come, because this does not happen all the time.
And he must eat.
Yeah. Look at what happened on the 25th of June, when the people occupied Parliament. The government was subdued. The president came out in rage just to realize the following day that the people have power, and he had to back off and reject the finance bill. But what did he do? Exactly what the lion will do. Lay siege, connivingly, and attack. How was it done? Government, broad-based government. Okay, disperse them, pick a few of them, bring them together. Then the people forget.
Yeah.
The very same people who were complaining were attending the homecomings for these rascals who had been appointed as cabinet secretaries. How? So, eternal vigilance is the key word. You must remember that this contract that is called government, the contract between the people and the governors, there must be eternal vigilance. And going back to this issue of Masengeli, we must not let it go the way of Boynet, the way of Kinoti, and the way of Matiang'i. We must pursue it to completion. And this cannot be the pursuit of the Law Society of Kenya alone. It cannot be the pursuit of Nelson Havi. It cannot be the pursuit of President Faith Odhiambo alone. It must concern all of us. Because all of us are vulnerable. And to ensure that Kenya continues being a constitutional democracy that we created through the 2010 Constitution, we must hold these individuals account. We must deal with Masengeli, we must deal with the PS Interior, we must deal with the CS Interior, and if need be, we must deal with the president. Because he is the one who took oath of office to protect the Constitution, to protect the people of Kenya.
There's something that often happens. I've mentioned it before and I want to repeat it. It is an aspect of psychological conditioning that was made known by someone called Pavlov.
The Russian.
Yes. How it is you can create a habit born out of repetition. So the mind and the brain anticipates it. The ecosystem I spoke of, and why someone like Masengeli is merely a tool. He is not really a big fish. When you are in a position where you are given orders, and it is clear it must be a very high authority, and it isn't one individual, it's several individuals, the ecosystem I speak of, someone is emboldened beyond reason. You wonder, why is this person so bold? Why is it that they don't seem to care? Why is it that they think they can get away with it? Actually, they don't think they know. Now, so long as we have a situation where people in political authority use the police service and individuals within the police service to serve their end, I do not think there's anybody who is more aware of the wrongs than somebody who is a police person. They know. They are acutely aware of what is wrong. Even when they perpetrate it, they know it is wrong. Now, when you've created a system where each of these groups feed off each other, they form a cabal that is very, very tight. And part of what the glue that binds them is the fact that they all know that they've perpetrated wrong.
Yes.
And you will find that they also have individuals whom they co-opt probably within the judiciary for this thing to work effectively. So here you have a situation where we can see where the problem is. But where it all starts is the knowledge that if somebody gives you instructions and you know that what you're being told is wrong, that person is your partner in crime and you know it. They know it, you know it. So that person's motivation to protect this person is immense. Because should someone like Gilbert Masengele decide, no, him is actually going to court and he's going to say what he knows, can you imagine what would happen? Can you imagine just the sort of seismic activity that we'd suddenly see? Do you remember when the late Dr. Robert Ouko was killed?
Yes.
And the then Permanent Secretary for Interior, decided that him is going to spill the beans. That court process was completely aborted, was it not?
You're right. They even killed the judge.
Oyugi himself didn't live very long after that. Yes. The point I'm trying to make is this. It was unprecedented. He would know that was not something that the state was going to allow to happen. Okay? What we are seeing is a tip of the iceberg. Somebody who's been in the police service for 35 years and even worked in special units. How much do you think this guy knows?
A lot.
Precisely.
And Elder, picking from where you've just left, it is imperative that we underscore the need for a few people to do the right thing.
Yes.
And one of the few people, because you said the co-opting entails many other players,
yes,
including even players in the judiciary.
Yes.
That's why Justice Lawrence Mugambi was bold enough to tell us in court that there was an attempt to reach him by Lazarus Opicho, a senior police officer tasked previously with the protection of judges. You understand? And this is very intriguing and it's very relevant because they wanted to co-opt Lawrence Mugambi in their enterprise, either to entice him to see the need not to compel Gilbert Masengele to comply with the court order, or to coerce and threaten him to draw back. You understand? But the judge was bold enough to say, no, these attempts will not yield fruit. And for that reason, I order you, Lazarus Opicho, to appear before me on Friday to show why you are interfering with the course of justice. One judge is all that we need to do this thing right. One policeman is all that we need to do this thing right. One Kenyan, one member of the National Assembly. You know, during Moi's time, where did these four individuals, I've talked about them, the four bearded sisters, and they dared Moi. They spoke. Unheard of, because they knew the logical consequence of daring Moi, you will find yourself on a table at City Mortuary. But because they knew they had to do it for the people of Kenya, they did it. Why is it that now we have a transformative constitution, the very best protection, and these people in parliament don't do nothing? You get it? There is a problem. One person, 2, 3, 4 are enough. You don't need a multitude, a few.
When you've been enticed and you've been captured by the very glue that holds these people together, we have a parliament that has long been established, was captured. It's not even...
It's effeminate. It's been emasculated.
It's something that is not even subject to debate. No. If we say effeminate, we'll be insulting.
Oh, sorry. It's been emasculated.
Yes. Say that. What they do is in the public domain, we see it. And if there is a group of people who are compromised, it's them. In fact, they've introduced new levels of compromise. Because you make decisions that not disempowers, but helps to destroy the lives of the very people who put you in those positions.
Exactly.
The people who you're supposed to represent.
You break the trust of the people.
Yes, exactly. So when you see all this connectivity, the very discussion we're having here would not take place if Parliament was doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
Because some of these individuals would not have the jobs they have.
Indeed.
Who compels Parliament, even looking from a legal point of view? Who compels Parliament to essentially do what it's supposed to do?
We the
do.
people. And on the 25th of June, we did it. You understand? But we withdrew because we forgot that our power can outmaneuver the lion. But permit me to continue using this example. A lion cannot defeat 20 zebras. It's as simple as that. It's only that the zebras are conditioned to think that the lion is superior. We, the people, can never be inferior because we designated and constituted the state. The state is our delegate. So the state must always do what the people want. But it will not do that unless the people are eternally vigilant.
What I find tragic, though, is that this became very apparent in President Uhuru's time because of a certain duality of perspective. On the one hand, when a political leadership, have a people who are patient and seem to give you time, you take them for granted and you think you can meet all manner of injustices on that particular people.
Yes.
But on the other hand, we saw with President Uhuru, when you have a president who seems patient and can absorb insult and can take disrespect, you suddenly think this particular president is weak. Now, this conditioning that we speak of, that is why I brought in Pavlov, because we seem to have allowed ourselves to be conditioned thus. Conditioning takes place when someone sees benefit. Or when one assumes there will be benefit coming to you. It works better. Even when you assume there will be harm, yes, it will work because you want to avoid the harm. But in our case, even as we, the sovereign, are who we are, this is something Eric has been saying, not for months, for years.
Yeah.
We are complicit. Because we are the ones who embolden these individuals. And we embolden not by what we do, but by our inaction. Because we are inert, it is then assumed that they can continue doing what they do.
What they want.
Yeah. And Elder, you're right. Because you see, the conditioning is intended to instill fear on us. And that famous example you've given also has another aspect to it. How do you react to fear? You either take flight or you fight.
You fight.
Yep.
So the choice is ours. Do we need to take flight or do we fight? To where shall we take flight to?
Do you
Nowhere.
think-
So we must fight.
So, Nelson, do you think that there's a fear that's resident in the hearts and minds of Kenyans to see that there's something that's going wrong, to understand that the role of Parliament is a representative one for you, the people, but to still say that, look, like what is at the heart of this matter that we discussed with Masengeli is that 3 individuals have been disappeared for whatever reason. They may have spoken up, they may have acted, they may have information that somebody doesn't want to get out. So folks would feel that they would find themselves in the same position as the 3 disappeared. And so for that fear, they say, well, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to watch how it plays out and not bite the lion.
Now, look, nobody will get out of this life alive. Huh? So the fear of death is a stupid thing. You will die either way.
Anyway.
Yeah. So for myself, I'm unafraid of the fear of death, be it natural or caused by man. And that must be the propelling cause for anybody determined to fight for the people. You understand? They will kill you anyway if they want to kill you. But let it be that you've done what has to be done. You understand? Look at the Kwara incidents. You understand? The state killed people and dumped them there. Volunteers went there to retrieve the bodies. Fear is being instilled on them.
But Nelson, do we have evidence that...
No,
it is the
listen,
state that
Elder.
killed people and-
At my agent stage,
Yes.
to quote Chotara, those concepts do not apply. The state has a responsibility to guarantee your life.
Yes, they do.
Yes. If I'm found dead today, you understand? It is the responsibility of the state. We don't need those shenanigated arguments And the state has the power. There are cameras everywhere. Police follow us everywhere. Police monitor our phones. They know where we are. So if I disappear for 10 minutes, the police ought to know. It's either the police who have disappeared us or they know where we are. We should not entertain that argument of evidence. No.
Why not?
It is the state. And you must take this concept very seriously. You know, let's start with Jeb Karuki. He disappeared for a few days. The state gave many explanations. But the state had kidnapped him from the Norfolk here. Everybody knows. You understand? Robert Ouko disappeared. The state gave us so many stupid explanations. Robert Ouko had been kidnapped and killed in Nakuru State Lodge. Everybody knows that. So the state should never give us this story that I do not know who has been kidnapped, who has been disappeared, who has been killed. The state knows. And that's why, and to quote the words of Latif, Masengeli does not want to come to court. Because, you know, I've testified in court time without number. The moment you take that Bible and swear, you will tell the truth. You will verily tell the truth. He doesn't want to come there. He will tell the truth.
Nelson, thank you for joining us today. Time has come to an end. So
I've scared the hell out of you. I'm sorry.
So what we are hearing from you is that Friday, we watch out because then Masengeli is supposed to be sentenced, right? And then thereafter, you're saying that you and others in the Law Society of Kenya, you want to commence other proceedings to have him removed from office, from serving as a police officer, and then thereafter take individual action against him. Now, the question would be, you speak to the Kenyans. How can you be supported in this?
Thank you, Eric Latif. Kenyans ought to support all of us because they have come and taken these three. They will take me, they will take you. We are the ones who constitute the state. Our eternal vigilance is important. The moment we say no, like that single zebra that said no to the lion, and we continuously say no and protect our staff, the lion will always know that 20 zebras will outmaneuver it. We must do it.
Nelson Havi, 49th President of the Law Society of Kenya, has been our guest. Keep it here for more. It's 8 a.m.
Get ready for incredible savings.